Hello there survivors and welcome back to another build tutorial in ARK Survival Ascender. Today I'm going to show you how to build this bunker satellite tower, and if you're wondering, this is mostly done using the bunker structures cosmetic. Well, you could build the entire bunker without the skin and it would still look pretty cool as a bunker shape. The tribe tower would of course just look like a normal tribe tower because that is what the spinning satellite dish is. It is a skin for the tribe tower to make it into this really cool big satellite dish. So whilst I advise using the bunker structures cosmetic to build this one, you could definitely just do it without it and it would still look pretty nice. As always, if you enjoy seeing these build tutorials and you want to continue to see more, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and feel free to leave suggestions for future builds down in the comments below. Of course, as always, you will need the foundation, so a decent bit of flat space will of course be the easiest to work with, and we'll start around the main entrance area of the middle of the build with 5 foundations just like this, so 5 wide. Then from this corner we're gonna go out, and then we'll have 2 here on the outside, and we'll do the exact same thing on the opposite side. So again, going out by 2, and we have 5 foundations there in the middle of this. Then over here we can attach another foundation, and we'll go out by 17 in total. So we'll just go out like this until we reach 17, and then we're about there. And that's how long the middle section is going to be. We'll focus on finishing that shape for now. So we'll add 3 more right over here, and then we can bring this in with, again, having 5 foundations over here. So 5 like that before we can bring this out. And again, on this side, it goes out by 3 in total. So 3 for both of these. And then on this side, we should be able to just connect this all the way up across until we meet back up with the front over here, and that is the shape of the middle part of the building. And now of course we'll have to make the 2 additions to the side. So if we're looking at it from the front, which is where we started, we'll go to the right side here, and we'll go 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then the next one is where we're going to start continuing the build. We'll bring it out by 6 as well, so just like so. And then after these 6, we want to add 1 more and bring this out by 3 in total. So there's 3 sticking out on this side. Then that means this is already 4 foundations, and we'll go on continuing it until it's 11. So 5 6 7 8 9 10 and 11. And then here also on this side, it means we can go in and have 3 there still going on before we bring back this foundation into the main structure. So that's going to be the shape of this side building. And before we continue, what we want to do is take out our quarter foundations, add 2 over here and 2 over there, so that we can have a different snap point for those foundations, so we can have a nice gate in the middle. And then of course we can already fill in the rest of this just going around, and that makes that wing complete. Then we'll once again return to the front over here, but this time we're going to look over at the left side of the building, and we're going to add some things here. We're going to go in by 1, and then we'll have 3 foundations coming out like this. Then in total we want to add 5 more to this, so it will be 6 long, but we're only going to keep 5 of them on the outside. So here we can continue another one, and that means that this section is now 5 long. Then we'll bring this out by a total of 5 as well. So again, this is going to count up to 5 on the outside. That is going to count up to 5 on the outside. Then over here on this side, well, you're never going to guess it, it's another 5 right here. So that's the same shape. Then of course we can bring this in until the exact same place. Again, bringing this out by 5 more, which then should line back up over here with just 1 to spare. So 1, 3, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and 3. And then we've gone all the way around to create this shape. And also on this side, before we start filling everything in, we want to go here to the middle. So the middle 3, and we want to add 2 quarter foundations there, 2 quarter foundations there, and then add 2 right there in the middle for the different snap points. And then after we've done that, we should be able to fill in the rest with normal foundations. It's just so that we can have a nice gateway in the middle to create entrances to all these different side buildings. And then we'll fill in this entire bit to get the foundation sorted. And it also means we can now also fill in the middle section, and that is the entire foundation layer that you'll need. All that we're going to add on the outside is some ramps to just kind of have a smooth way to walk into the building. But this is the entire ground plan, the ground layer for this build. If you're planning to do it yourself, this is how much space you'll need to get the rest of the building done. And of course, with foundations, that means you need a decently flat space. But if you want to do it with some ceilings and pillars and stuff, you can of course pick a more or less cooler place that doesn't have the perfect flat spot for you. And speaking of, we're going to take out our ramps, and we're going to add 1 layer here in the middle at the front so that we have a nice entrance. We're also going to have a layer of ramps right here along this side, meeting up with that wall at the end. And we're going to do the same thing here on the other side. So again, bringing out our ramps, just making it nice and smooth. And then here in the middle, once again, have some ramps over there. Then we can take out our gateways. Now, first of all, we want to find this foundation that we placed in. You can kind of rotate it around so it sticks out a little bit more. That is one of the side entrances. And of course, we have the same spot over here where we want to do the same thing. So that's going to be the entrances to the side additions of the build. Then over here for this building, you would want another stone gate. I would add it at the back, so you kind of have a back entrance there. Of course, you're free to add it on the front if you prefer. That is kind of just where you would want an entrance, but basically that is going to be an exit, and then this is going to be an entrance, and that is it. So that's why I would have them on opposite sides. It's just more practical that way. Then we want to take out our large cellar doors, and we want to change it to the barn door variant. We want to, from the front here where we started, we want to go in by 1, and that's where we want to add it. So yeah, there we go. That is going to be our new entrance, nice and big, so even bigger teams can easily walk in and out of it. Then whilst working on the entrance, we're going to take out our large walls, and we're going to have 1 over here and 1 over there, so on each sides of the entrance. And then we can have 3 normal walls right in between that. We can also take out our pillars, add 3 of them on each side, and also make sure that we have a beam going across the top to really make a nice entrance here. Then we want to take out our roofs, and we want to go in by 1 layer here on the front, and then the next layer is going to be 2 walls high. So basically we want to just bring this across 2 walls high in total. If you're not going to use the bunker skin, you might want to maybe bring in some of the greenhouse glass as windows or other window skins, just so that you have a little bit of light that is coming into your bunker. And then what we also want to do is have a beam going across the top over here, then taking out our railings and add them along the top as well. So there we go. That is going to be our front wall, or front entrance wall. So we're going to continue here on the front entrance, and we're going to have 1 more large wall here and another one right over there. On the opposite side, we're going to have large walls here. We're going to continue this all the way over there, so 6 of them in total, which already fills in a lot of this front section. Then what we want to do is take out our normal walls, go around the front just like this, and also take out our slope walls to bring it back in to the rest of the building. Then we can add some roofs on top, and then on the next layer we want to continue our walls up again. So this is already going to give the bunker a little bit more of that shape that we want. And to continue this shape, we want to take out a slope wall again. We want to place one right over there. Then we can add 3 more walls on top of that. And then we can have one normal wall right next to this. Bring out our slope walls and bring them into the main structure. We should then be able to take out our stone roofs again, or any kind of roof, depending on what material you want to use for this build. We can have 4 roofs in total. And then to finish this wall, we're going to have 4 more walls over there. Then here on this side, we want to start right over here. Bring up 4 walls all the way up to the top. 1 more wall right there. And of course, filling in the remaining shapes with some slope walls just to get that shape in line. And then we also want to take out our stone beam or any kind of beam you're using, depending on what material you're building from. And we want to bring it out just until before the end. Then here we want to bring in a pillar going back down like so. And that's already giving a lot more shape to the building here at the front. We also want to take out the beams and of course add them right in there just to get a little bit more detail going on there. So that is one side of the entrance done. Now, of course, we're going to basically do the same thing here on the opposite side. So once again, we're going to have 2 large walls over there. And then here on this side, we're going to have 6 of them, bringing it all the way close to that gate again. Then here at the front, of course, we can create the same shape with our normal walls, adding in the slope walls to go in to the shape of the building, the roofs on top of that, and then our walls right here at the front again. Then we want to take out our slope wall over there, add 3 more walls on top of it, add 4 walls right over here, and of course that 1 wall that goes in here so that we can have our slope walls going back into the bunker, adding in our roofs just like so. And then of course, to finish this wall, add 4 more over there. Then we can take out our beams again. We can have 2 of them here to mirror the other side, and we can of course also have them going across like so, of course stopping one short for the end and then having a pillar going up to meet it. And that means we have the shape of the main entrance pretty much complete. Okay, then we flip it completely around and we start working on the opposite side of the main building. We can take out our greenhouse walls or any kind of wall that you want to turn into a big window if you're going to use skins. And we're going to have a 3x3 wall here, kind of to mirror the entrance that we have. And in theory, if you want entrances on both sides, you could, of course, do that. Then we want to have some pillars along the sides, as well as a beam going across the top of it. Then we want to take out a large wall, have one on each side of this, and then, of course, connect it with normal walls in the middle. Taking out our roofs to go in by 1, just like so, and then of course adding a layer of 2 walls all the way up to the top, having a beam that goes across the top layer, and of course some railings that go on top of that to finish this layer off. And then we pretty much have the same thing as on the opposite side, but this time with a nice big window. We want to take out our large walls and we want to add 2 of them right here and 2 of them right on the other side. And of course, from here, we want to have 6 large walls in total. So there we go. We'll do the exact same thing here, of course, adding 6 large walls in, stopping short just of that main entrance there. Then here at the end, of course, we want to just kind of circle it around with normal walls. Same thing over here. Just go around like that. Taking out our slope walls to add them on those ends just like this, and adding in our roofs to give a little bit more shape to the whole thing. Then of course our walls can be on top again to raise it up to the same height. Again, this is very similar or exactly the same as we did on the other side of the building. We then want to take out our slope walls. We want to add them here on the end of these roofs and add 3 more walls on top of each. So 3 more walls on all of that, just like so. And then of course here we can bring 4 walls up. We will do the same thing here on the other side, bring 4 walls up, and then have one more wall right next to these before we can take out our slope walls again, adding in the shape, bringing that in to the main building just like that, and then of course adding in our roofs to really give shape to this build. And as you can see, we're basically getting the same thing we built on the front. So then we want to have the walls in between. There we go. And then of course we'll take out our beams. We'll have 2 over here, 2 over there, and then we'll have a few over here, 6 over here, just short from the end, of course. And then of course the same thing goes for the one here on this side. Then we can take out all pillars, and we can have a pillar going all the way back down. Same thing over on the other side. We'll have another pillar going all the way up to meet the beam that we just placed. And then we should have the back of the building looking pretty much the exact same way as the front of the building. Then of course around these entrances to the side building, what we need is a few quarter walls to fill in those gaps. So we just want to go up until the top of the gates, and then above them we can have some normal walls to fill in that. So the exact same on the opposite side, fill in those, and then of course the rest with some quarter walls to fill in the gaps, so that we can go to the side builds. And you can decide for yourself whether or not you want to have gates in them. I kind of like to keep them open, makes it easier to go from one room to the other. But if you want to close everything off, you can of course add in a gate to them. The one that you definitely want to add a gate to is the one here at the side of the building. So this one we definitely want to utilize as a proper gate. Okay, then it's time to move on to the side building here. So we're going to do this one first, which is on the right side of the main entrance. We want to take out some large walls. We want to have 2 of them here and 2 of them right over there. Then here in the middle, we want to add in some windows. So we're going to just have those right there, and then normal walls going up to the top, so it's all the same height again. Then we'll take out our ramps, and we want to add a layer of ramps right on top of here to get a little bit shape into the building, just like this. And then we're going to do a very similar thing here on the opposite side. So first of all, we're going to add in our large walls on both sides of the gates, and then on top of it, we're just going to have our normal walls, bringing it in with some ramps here at the top before we can cover it all up with some ceiling. So we just want to basically fill this entire layer in with some ceilings from one side to the other. Then we can take out our stone pillars and also add them here at the end of this wall, which should kind of align with the pillar that we already have at the start of that wall. Then here at the very end, we can go all the way into the middle one, and we can add a large wall there and a large wall on each of the sides of this. Then we can take out our walls all the way to the end and go around as well. And then basically what we want to do is go up one by one each time we go in a little bit further. So basically creating a little bit of a staircase going up, and we can do the exact same thing here on the opposite side. So bring out these walls, kind of go around like that, and then make them go up in a kind of staircase like manner. So just bring it up like this. Then of course we can bring out our slope walls to bring a little bit more shape to this all. So basically we're gonna smooth this out until the place where we have that pillar going up. So just 3 slope walls to bring in this shape a little bit, and then of course we can have our roofs in between to get that bunker shape in place. Same thing over here, and then at the end of those roofs we want to have a full wall going up, so both sides will have that full wall. And here we can actually just fill in from one side to the other. Then of course on the top we want to have some ceilings going across from one side to the other, and then we should also be able to fill in this side with a layer of walls going across just like that. And then as a final detail, we want to take out our beams and basically take them around the entire top section of this to add a little bit more details to that and give the bunker that little bit of extra shape. And if you want to add the helicopter platform on the top, what you want to do is take out these middle two ceilings. We kind of want to make a center for this. So instead, we're going to have some quarter ceilings like that. And then have a normal ceiling in the middle. So we can place a thin pillar right in the middle of there. So this is the exact middle of this side building, which is what we then need. Then we can take out our triangle ceilings and basically make a little circle around and on top of that pillar that we just placed. Then we want to take out our full ceilings again, add them around the outside just like that, and of course keep filling in the circle another layer at a time. And we want to go for one more, so we want to add more triangles to the outside of the full ceilings now, just going round like this to make the platform big enough for like a Ryanatha or something like that. Then we can fill in the in-between sections, of course, again with some full ceilings, and this should all perfectly line up without overlapping into any of the sides. Then around this platform, of course, we want to make sure that we add in some railings for safety. So we want to go around the entirety of it, except for this full ceiling facing into the building, because of course we're going to have a door somewhere, and then we can basically go all the way round like that. Of course, now it kind of looks like this is all being supported from that one tiny pillar. So what we want to do is underneath those full ceilings, we want to add some extra supports in so that it looks a little bit more like this is all being supported in the right way. So you want to make sure that everywhere we have the full ceiling in that layer, we can add an extra little pillar so that at least it looks like it's being supported a little bit nicer. And if you want to, as you can see right here, I added some of these antennas and these lights. If you want to add those little details, it's quite simple. We'll go here to the end of the platform. What we want to take out is a pillar first. So here on this corner, you could have a full pillar. You could have a half stone pillar right there. And then, for example, you could have the full thin pillar here. And then on top of that, and then basically all you need to do is either put like a steampunk light on top of it, or if you're using the bunker cosmetics, of course, you can use deco boxes to have either the satellites or the antennas, so you can add some of those and make it look like you got some like connections here to make sure that every landing goes safe and smoothly, as well as it just adds some extra nice looks to your bunker design, of course. And that does mean that we finished this right side building. So this one is pretty much complete now. Okay, then it's time to start working on the staircases up before we continue with anything else. So from this main gate, we want to go in and go to our right. So the one side that we already made a building for. And then we want to find this spot right here and add in a ceiling over there, just like this. Then we should be able to add in some quarter ceilings around like that and add in two more ceilings over there in that corner. This might look a little bit weird, but I promise it all makes sense. Now what we want to take out is little quarter stairs. We want to add 4 of them here, coming down from that piece all the way into the ground here. And then what we want to do is basically we can't snap any railings to these quarter stairs yet, at least not at the moment. Hopefully they will fix that soon. So we have a full pillar instead. We go through the snap points until we can place it all down. Then once we have them, you should be able to take out the pillar and the railings should stay. Here at the front, of course, we can have the railings continue. And then over here, we can have a normal railing as well. We can have a little half railing there and a little half railing here too. So we already have a staircase going up here. Then we want to basically continue it from this side. So over here, we have 2 stairs, of course, going up. Place down a temporary pillar and add in a railing right next to it to keep it all safe, going through all the snap points. Then we can take it away again. Then, of course, over here, we want another little quarter ceiling. We're actually going to bring this out by one more ceiling before we start going into our staircase. And then, of course, we should have 4 stairs going up. We once again want to have a pillar there, of course. Fill in the railings with the right snap point. Add 2 of it, of course. And then here we can have a normal little half railing there. We can take it out again. So that is already bringing a staircase up to the next layer here. And then on this layer, what we want to do is take out a full ceiling. So just a normal full ceiling. We can add 2 right here. And then what we also want to do is add a little quarter ceiling right in that corner, which means we can take out our stairs again. We're going to have 2 of them going down into this platform. We can then, of course, also have a railing. So full railing there, little half railing here. And then from this place up, the staircase will continue again because we're going to have multiple layers, of course. We want to have a temporary pillar there so that we can fix more of these railings in place, going through all of the right snap points until we find the right ones, of course, to go along our staircases, just like that. So already continuing this staircase. And then here at the top of the staircase, we want to go out by 4 quarter ceilings. Then we have 3 more to go here and just another one right over there. Then, of course, we can take out our little half railings, normal railings, and there we go. The whole staircase is now completed just for this layer here in the middle, as well as all the way up to the rooftop up here. So that means that over there, we can actually add in a little doorway here at the top. And of course, we also want to add in the door itself. And this is how we're going to access the rooftop up here. And speaking of the rooftop, now that we've made it all the way up here, we can, of course, add in our ceilings all the way across. And then make sure that we connect both ends of this bunker up. So that will already start to form a little bit more of an actual building, of course. So it's not all just floating walls and nothing in between them. So we can fill this all the way in. Of course, you could add a rooftop skylight, but in my case, this is where I'm going to place the tribe tower, because with the bunker cosmetic, that turns into the cool spinning satellite dish. And then over here on this layer, we also want to add in a doorway right there. We then want to take out our normal walls and we can fill it all the way in up here. We can also fill in those 2. We can add in a pillar right there in that corner. And just for completion, we also want to fill in this entire side wall so that basically this end of the building is now completed with our very own staircase to get up to all of the layers that we will be adding and that we will be working on. So first of all, we can take out these ceilings a little bit further. We want to make this 3 wide in total from the front wall, and we can take this across just like so, all the way until about here. So we're basically where the other end is. We want to fill this all the way into the end, and then here we can just go 2 wide from one side to the other into these well, the bits that stick out on the front of the building, basically. So we want to make that completely filled in. Then we want to have a walkway over here, so just a 1 wide walkway from one side to the other. And then here on this side we can go 2 wide again, fill it in until the front, and then we should be able to go across all the way from one side to the other right here. And what we also want to do, of course, is fill in this door so that it is actually already there, because you can close off the staircase itself. Then in between this layer there's a gap left, so what we want to do is just fill that in with some normal walls from one side to the other, so that that side is completely filled in. And we want to do the same thing here on the other side as well, so that basically finishes the middle section here at the bottom, which is now fully enclosed, of course, on all sides. And we can start working on the middle layer here. Now, it's kind of designed to have like windows looking around. Of course, if you prefer, you could just ceiling over this entire layer, make it one big floor. But I kind of like the fact that you can still look down into the workplace below. So what we're going to do is add in our glass walls all the way around. You can either go for the full glass wall or just have glass at the bottom and a normal wall or stone wall, something like that at the top. It's kind of up to you, depending on how much light and how much visibility you want to create. We actually don't want to do it here at the back. We only want to do it here along the other 3 sides. Right over here, what we want is to create a little doorway. So we'll have a doorway here and we'll have a doorway over there. Then we can fill in a wall on top of both of those, of course. Just like that. And to make it a little bit nicer, you could even add a pillar right there. Just add a little bit more detail. Actually, we want to add in those pillars on the corners here too. And of course, add it right over there. Then for these, we probably do want to add a door in here. So we have one here. And we can have one here on the other side. I would take notice of where the orientation, like where it opens, just so that it makes sense. And then along this walkway, we of course want to have some railings so that it's still safe to walk up here. But as I said, you can kind of nicely look down into the workplace below, which I quite like about this part of the design. So then here over on this side, the first thing what we can do is just have our walls going across the top here, connecting those 2 sections up. And we can of course do the exact same thing here on the other side, connecting the top layer across already. We also then want to find the middle here to add in a doorway. Now technically there is a tiny bit of a gap, but as you can see, you can still walk over that, so it shouldn't be a problem. That's just the way that triangle ceilings work in ARK. Yeah, it just doesn't perfectly align with the full ceilings or, you know, full foundations, but it works. You can still access the landing platform here. Then for the rest of this wall, we kind of just want to fill it all in. If you're not going to be using the bunker cosmetic, you might want to add some little windows here on the side. But for the bunker cosmetic, we're just going to change the variant to turn it into windows anyway. And then here at the top, what we want to do first, especially for the bunker cosmetics, otherwise you can just fill it in with normal ceilings. Here at the end, we want to first create a shape like this, going all the way round the outside. Not like that, but just like so. So basically we create a circle where we can have a full ceiling in the middle, which we can change into a nice vent looking skin. And we're going to use the same kind of design here at the opposite end as well, just so that we have some nice spinning vents. Again, if you're not using the bunker skin, you can just have 4 normal ceilings there. The rest of this we can just fill in with normal ceilings all the way through from one side to the other. And then we can also take out our beams and start going around the top of this entire thing to give it a little bit more shape and basically finish off these nice corners of the main building. There we go. Gives a little bit more shape already and gives that bunker aesthetic back to it. Here on the other side, of course, we want to do something pretty much the same. So first of all, we go across with our walls like that. We, of course, are still going to create whatever is here on the other side. So for now, what we'll do is just follow along with the top from one side to the other. Then here at the top, we also, again, if you're using the bunker skins, want to create that same shape. Otherwise, you can just completely fill it in with ceilings all the way through. So one over here, and we'll do the exact same thing here on the opposite end. So we'll have this going all the way across like so, filling that ceiling in the middle. And then of course we can just continue to fill in the rest again with normal ceilings all the way through. We can take out our beams going across the sides over here, one side to the other, all the way around until we've fully completed this section. Again, to add a little bit of extra detail to the entire shape of that building, which already is starting to look quite like a cool bunker. Then over here on the inside, what we also want to do is add in this one wall here with a pillar at the end, just to kind of have this same shape, which means that you can have some nice rooms in here to utilize for your base. And of course, before we do anything else, it's kind of time to work on the other side building of the bunker. So to get started here on the side, we're going to go from the front here on the left. We're taking out a roof and we're going to add 5 of them in total. And that should line up with the same height as the rest of the building, or at least this floor. We want to go across with the roofs. We can add 2 layers here at the top before we bring the side all the way back down as well. And we can fill in the first 2 layers here. We can then take out a greenhouse roof so that we can have a nice window in there to let in some light here to the side. And what we just did on that side, we also want to do on the opposite side. So we bring out 5 roofs in total, bring it across and bring it back down below, just like so, to get in that shape. First 2 layers we can fill in, and the top 2 layers we can fill in, so that we can do the middle one with a nice greenhouse glass one, so that we let in some light to this bunker. Then we want to take out our walls. We want to start filling in some of this shape, just like that. Same over here, basically already forming the shape of the building. We can have some large walls there in the corner, and then of course we can have some slope walls going up to these sections, all the way up to where the corner is going to be. So we just want to fill those in, and then we'll have a pillar right there going all the way up that wall. Same over here, just like that. And then here on the inside, what you will probably want to do is add a wall right there, so that it's a little bit easier to kind of decorate or, you know, build anything against, because it's just a straight wall going down. We actually want to do the same thing here. So one before the end, we can already add in a wall over here. Then we can bring out our roofs. First layer, we can go all the way across from one side to the other. And then here on the end, we can of course bring it all the way up until it meets with the other one. We can do the same thing here for this end, as well as for the one in the middle here. And then the top layer, we can continue to both sides again. We can then have a beam at the top and at the bottom of this section. And then we can take out our greenhouse glass again, so that we can have the nice lights coming in through the roof. So some 2 big windows to get into the bunker. Then of course we can take out our walls again. We can have a large wall right there, another large wall right there, and then kind of fill in the shape of the building like a staircase with the normal walls on both ends, just like this, bringing it up one by one, and then of course filling in the remaining gaps with some slope walls. Same thing over here on the other side, just like that. And in theory, if you really wanted to use the little bit of space that is behind these walls, you can of course here hide a little secret doorway there, so you could still exit it and maybe have some hidden storage or hidden generator or something like that. And then to basically complete this bottom layer, we want to of course fill the top in with some ceilings from one end to the other. And then of course on top of these ceilings, we still want to add a little bit of a building. So here at the back of the building, we want to start with a window here, there, and here. And then on the side, we want to have a window right there in the middle, 2 of them just like so. We can then take out our walls again, have walls in those spots, so just alongside the building here as well, following this shape. There we go. We have a door right here, as well as a door right over there. That's to get back into the main building, of course. Then we can take out our normal walls again and just start basically filling in the rest of the gaps of this wall. Same thing here on the other side. There we go. We of course want to add the actual door into the place there. Oh, and we also want to of course at the door into this one so that you can get out to this little balcony that we have right here. We'll add in some railings around the side so that you don't fall off the balcony. Perfect to park a small flyer on, of course. And then we take out those slope walls. We add them over there. We add them over here and over here at the end too, just like that. Then of course you can take out all roofs, fill in those tops of this. We can then take out the walls again, have the walls in between here and in between there. And then before we finish this layer, we want to take out the quarter walls, basically add a small little layer on top all the way round. So just enough to stick out a little bit from the original part that we have. Then what we want to do is we want to have 2 full ceilings at the end, 2 full ceilings there. We want to then also have some quarter ceilings at the edges. And in the final middle, we want to have a greenhouse ceiling so that we can let in some light to the top of this. And then we want to go along the sides to basically add in some beams to really finish that design. So yeah, basically we have a small little room on top of there that you could use as a bedroom or something like that. And with that, you pretty much have the whole build completed, as you can see. And then all you need to do, if you also want to add in the satellite / tribe tower, is, well, of course, take out the tribe tower and you basically want to place it around here. Of course, I can't place it because I already have it on the other building. But yeah, it should fit right there as far back as possible. And then you have the bunker satellite tower, which is a pretty cool base. I'm quite happy with this design, and especially if you use the bunker structures cosmetics. It is a premium mod, but it is a very good cosmetic that looks absolutely amazing. The reason I've used a lot of large walls in the design is, as you can see, there's a gradient that goes over it, but there's also variance. So you also have this one with a little bit more effect. So that's also how I would skin this. Then normal walls have a ton of window variants. As you can see, these are quite cool. Flip them around so that they meet in the middle, because standard they always have the same orientation. Then we have this one. This is also flipped upside down so that they meet at the same height, which is quite cool to create a small little window. Then you have the construction skin, which is part of the bunker cosmetic, which has these really cool platforms with the cool railings, as well as these cool metal structures. And as I said, the satellite and the antennas are part of the medium deco boxes, which are definitely cool little decorations. You can see here more of the skins, as well as these vents, which is just a really cool little addition that just brightens up your build or brings it to life a little bit more. We have more of those little windows here along the side around the doorway, basically, which look really, really cool. Bring in a little bit of extra light as well, which is definitely very welcome, of course. Then if we look around at the other side of the building, you can see a little bit of a window on top of there as well. But that is pretty much it. So skinning this is actually very simple. We have the front here, all just really basic. We have some of those little textured walls here. And then, of course, we have the double layer of windows here to bring in a little bit of extra light there. You also have these really cool railings with a little bit of glass in them, which looks really cool. We have the windowed roofs, which are very, very nice too. We have the other window roofs, which are really, really cool as well, bring in a bunch of light. Then here we have all sorts of different window shapes using the different variants for walls, which is absolutely incredible. There's so many options. There's a lot to play around with. You can see those little double windows again. Here we have some really funky window sizes and shapes, which are definitely really cool to play around with and add some cool details. And then we have all little balcony right over there. And yeah, the rest is pretty much the exact same way as we skin some of the other things. We have a big window here, of course, which looks really, really cool. And that is kind of how to skin it. And of course, the best piece of all is the rotating satellite dish skin for the tribe tower, which really transform this build into something very, very cool and very, very unique. The inside's quite simple, just kind of used a lot of these bunker skins. I did add a garage here in the middle. If you want to, you can do that, of course, but also you can see it's big enough to house even some bigger dinos like Rexes, etc. You have a pretty decent amount of space around here. This is a little breeding and hatching facility here to the side, you know, for all your tames. And then we have a little bit more of the crafting hall here on this side of the building. We're using the different floor skins as well. The generator skin is really, really good. We have these storage skins, which are quite cool. What else do we have? We have the little boxes, which is also storage skin, which is really, really nice as well. We have some of the decorations. This is just on deco boxes. This is a big Mosa tank, so there's a Mosa in there, which is quite cool. What else? We have some of the raptors, which is also all part of the bunker structures cosmetic. It's a very cool way to detail your base, very reminiscent, of course, of Jurassic Park. What I did do here for the walkway, I added in some extra slopes as supports just to make it a little bit nicer. And then we have these windows going all the way around. I didn't end up doing the double layer windows here, but again, as I said in the tutorial, you could, if you want to bring in a little bit more light and you know, just a little bit more visuals. But yeah, all in all, you get a pretty cool base. Of course, we have the staircase all the way up to these different layers. We then have the different layers themselves, a little bit of a lab vibe going on here. We have the kitchens here in the middle, and then some more storage, etc., and more lab vibes here over on the other side. We have another raptor called up there, and then we have a little bit of a bedroom going on this side. Just very simple but very effective, I think. Yeah, and I really like the way this all comes together. Oh my god, look at the lights coming through. It's always so cool. And of course, if you keep following the staircase all the way up, you get to the rooftop. We have a nice generator here as well, but more importantly, we have the cool Tribe Tower skin, which really transforms it. And then I've added a few more of these little lights and antennas, which is just basically placing down some pillars in different shapes and sizes, just to add a little bit more of these details. Here you can see the steam light lamps. If you paint the third region, which is the glow, you can change them into different colors, so green and red, just to kind of make some kind of connection lights. It's kind of just a really funky way to add some extra designs to your build. And then you can also see some other cool ceiling variants, which is this little dome, which just adds a little glass dome on top of your build, which is another cool way to let in some light. So yeah, there we go. That is how you build this bunker satellite tower, and I think it's quite a cool base to use. So hopefully you enjoyed this build tutorial. If you did, of course, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and feel free to leave suggestions for future builds down in the comments below. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.